Thank you very much indeed, Dirk, for those very strong and very consoling words, and for your reassurance in relation to calling on all of the stakeholders to get involved and ensure that this humanitarian matter is sorted out satisfactorily once and for all. It now gives me great pleasure to welcome Senator Rابرت Torricelli, member of the United States Senate from 1997 to 2003, and who has come all the way from the United States to be with us and show his support today. Senator Rابرت Torricelli.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Rajavi, and my colleagues and friends. For all of you who are members of the Parliament, for you this may be routine, but for those of us from the United States, this is indeed a great honor to be in the Parliament today. I'm honored and pleased to be here today. As a young man, I remember the first day of school, a history teacher asking the class why we studied history in chapters when human life is a continuum. And since no student had the answer, she volunteered one, because that's how we live. Generations begin and they end, eras come and they go. The human experience is punctuated by events. Sitting here today, it occurs to me that events in the Middle East are providing another punctuation, the beginning of a new chapter. What has been happening in Iran since the revolution of 1979 is not sustainable. It is running its course. Precipitating these events, of course, are the decision of Iran to have atomic weapons. I once read an analysis that it took the United States only 4 years to develop the atom bomb and 40 years to develop a philosophy of how to control it. That philosophy has gone through various phases. Containment, retaliation. They worked for the Soviet Union, they may have worked for China, but dealing with Iran is a different situation. The best evidence, of course, of that is the regime itself. Last week, in fact, the statement that Israel needs to be removed from the face of the earth. Nations can differ. They have conflicting interests. But no nation which has a stated policy believes that another nation, indeed a respected member of the international community and a member of the United Nations, should be removed from the face of the earth. That is the 40 years, but now 65 years, that it has taken to develop a philosophy of how to deal with these weapons. Containment is not enough. Retaliation is not enough. There are nations, by their very nature of the irresponsibility of their philosophy and their governance and their stated goals, that cannot be allowed to possess certain weapons. Period. For all the difficulties of recent years, few things have been more hopeful to me than to see the wide variety of interests in the world, the varied nations that have been willing to come forward behind this policy of not only sanctions, but meaningful sanctions that will force some resolution. Now, it is not for us here today to decide or in any meaningful influence whether this is a military decision or a political decision. That will be decided by others. But in my life's experience, success requires dealing with issues, as we say, around the curve. And whether or not the Iranian situation is resolved militarily or economically or politically, for us today, the responsibility is the same.